Hello everyone, welcome back to Nagash, which is a channel dedicated to Age of Sigmar. In this video we're going to have just a little bit of a hobbying talk, just me telling you about my experiences with the new Legions of Nagash, which I had a game yesterday, my first game of it. It was only a 1,000 point game. I tried to do a battle report of the game, however, as I was having it at the store, and there was also a painting competition on the day in the store, the time of the painting competition got brought forward, which meant that our game had to be quite quick, so unfortunately I didn't really have enough time to be able to film it and do loads of breakdowns while we were playing. So we just had to focus on getting the game done. However, despite not being able to do a full battle report, I did learn a lot by actually having hands-on experience with the Legions of Nagash. So we're going to talk about that today, and we're also going to talk about the Malign Portents painting competition that followed after the game, and just talk about the build-up to the campaign. So to talk about the game, it was a 1,000 point game. We played Duality of Death, which is one of the match play scenarios out of the General's Handbook. As it was only a 1,000 point game, we'd only played on a 4x4 just to make things a little bit, make the board size a little bit more better to represent the armies we've got, as if we played in a full 6x4. With only 1,000 point armies, it wouldn't have felt right, to be honest. So we modified the deployments and where we deployed the objectives to correspond to the smaller board, essentially. So, and then for my army, I believe I had 1,400 points and 70. So I had 1,470 points. I had, as my general, the White King with Baleful Tombblade. I gave him the Lord of Nagash command trait, so that was the add 1 to attack characteristics of melee weapons used by friendly death rattle units that are within 6 inches of this general. So this was great for the Grave Guard I was running. So I had him as my general, and that was the command trait. I then had, from other two heroes, I had a Necromancer and a Vampire Lord on a Nightmare Steed. And for the artifacts, I gave the White King again, I gave him the Ossific Diadem, which was the roll of dice each time you allocate a wound or mortal wound to a friendly death rattle unit, or model, sorry, within 12 inches of the bearer. On a roll of 6+, the wound is negated. So the idea of this was just to make the death rattle, mainly the Grave Guard, just as durable as they can be, and then so they're pretty hard to take down, and then just bringing that many back as well. Just made them really hard to get rid of. Unfortunately, how the battle plan turned out to be Duality of Death, so you catch the objective of your hero. I didn't have the best heroes for that, and my Grave Guard weren't going to catch the objectives by themselves, so it didn't really matter too much how durable they were. However, that's just 1 out of 6 possible battle plans we've got, and that's the one we picked. So those were my command traits and artifacts, and my heroes. So it was the White King with Baleful Tombblade, a Necromancer, and a Vampire Lord. I then had for my units was a unit of 20 Grave Guard, which was one of my battle line units. My next battle line unit was a unit of 5 Dire Wolves. And the reason behind this was I thought about having a unit of 20 Grave Guard and then maybe a block of 40 skeletons. However, that is quite a lot of points just invested there into the big unit, so I thought a unit of 20 Grave Guard, that's big enough as it is for a 1,000 point game. And then if I instead just had the 5 Dire Wolves instead of the block of 40 skeletons, it just gives me that many more points left over to spend on other things. And a unit of 5 Dire Wolves for 60 points, it's just so good. They're really fast, they've got 2 wins each, they've got a 5-up save, their attacks aren't bad, so it's just a really good unit. And to count as one of your battle line just meant, like I say, I can spend the points somewhere else. So after that we had a unit of 10 Black Knights, and this is just because I wanted to see how powerful they can be in the new book if you take that many of them and have them run along with the Vampire Lord, just to see you know, how durable they can be, really, as she would be giving them 6-up save, Deathless, and then the Deathly Invocation ability to try and bring them back. So that's the idea behind that, and that was all my units, I believe. So that's all I had. And then my opponent was playing with Fire Slayers. Now it's important to note that this is the first time my opponent had used his Fire Slayers as he was building up the army, and even though this was a 1,000 point game, he had, I believe, 7 heroes in his army, and I know that's not allowed, but as he really wanted to use the Fire Slayers, and I really wanted to fight them as well, I was more than happy to let him have the extra heroes. And I will try and remember best I can what he had, but as, like I say, I've never fought Fire Slayers before, I might get the names wrong a little bit, but hopefully not. So he had as his general, he had a Uruk Rune Father on Magmadroth. Then for his other heroes, he had a Battlesmith, and then he had a Grimwrath Berserker, and then he had a Uruk Runesmith, I believe. What I'm doing at the moment is I'm just on the Games Workshop website, just trying to go through and jog my memory of what he did have. So so he had an Uruk Rune Father on Magmadroth, an Uruk Runesmith on foot, a Battlesmith, a Grimwrath Berserker, I think a Uruk Rune Master on foot as well, and then for infantry he had unit of 10 Volkvark Berserkers, and then he had another unit of 10 of them, and then he had a unit of 5 Heathguard Berserkers. So that's what he had from what I can remember. He's probably got a couple more heroes in there. Unfortunately, I can't remember what they are. There's a picture though. I provided the armies when they're all set up, in case you can point a couple of more of those. Put it down in the comments, and that'd be great to see what you had. Okay, so that's what my opponent had. He had, again, up to 1,000 points there. And like I said, we just really wanted to see what my new army could do and what his new army could do. So it's also important to note that there might have been a couple of things we got wrong, as we're just learning as this brand new to this. So there's a couple of things we got wrong, but we tried to correct ourselves as best as we could. However, so that was the armies, and we were playing the Battle Plan Duality of Death. So for me, what I did was I set up my grave sites. Now you get 4 grave sites in the Legions of Nagash. However, as we were playing on a smaller board with smaller armies, I just set up 2, just because I thought it was a bit fairer. So I set one up basically in the middle of my territory, but the closest to the board as I could put it in. So it's basically 12 inches away from the middle of the board, and in the middle of my territory. The idea here was, just in case I took damage turn 1, or the second turn in general, I'd have the gravesite to try and heal up some of my models again. And then that was the same idea by putting the next gravesite in the middle of the table, as again, because that would be in between both the objectives, and it would be able to heal either my Black Knights, my Graveguard, or my Direwolves if they were on the objectives and they really needed to be healed up. So that was the idea, to just sort of spread out the aura of that ability. So I finished deploying first. I elected my opponent to go first because with how slow my heroes were anyway, I mean, my Necromancer was moving, I believe it's 4 or 5 inches, I think it's 5 inches for the Necromancer, and then my White King was moving 4 inches, as he doesn't have a horse. And then my last hero, being the Vampiress, she did actually was mounted onto a Nightmare, so she was pretty fast. She can move 10 inches, and she was deployed with the Black Knights, so that's a very fast moving unit as well. So I could have taken the objective on my right hand side first turn with her. However, as that would have been the only objective I could take, I took a bit of a risk and I gave the first turn to my opponent. Now my opponent first time fighting Fire Slayers. So what he did was he did his hero face abilities, and then he moved his Magmadroth up further enough to capture the objective that was in front of it, and then which was the objective on my left, and then he had 2 heroes off the board, which were what one were they? They were it was the Uruk Runesmith on foot, and then we had the Grimwrath Berserker go with him, and they teleported onto the objective on my right. So I think they tunnel on the ground and they pop up. So that's what he did. He did this to get the objectives turn 1 to control both of them. So after his turn 1, he scored 1 point each for those objectives. And then what I did was I moved my guys up, so I realised that how he positioned his troops, apart from my Black Knights and my Vampire Lord, my other guys wouldn't really be able to charge that turn. So my Vampire Lord on the Nightmare and my Black Knights managed to basically charge and get into combat on the objective on the right hand side to try and to take that back, to get that one. And then my Graveguard, my White King and my dogs on the left hand side just ran up the board to try and get to that objective as quick as they can, and then basically play for the double turn. If I could get the double turn and be able to charge that Magmadroth with my Graveguard and hopefully try and do as much damage to it, or potentially wipe it out if I could do. So that was the plan for the left hand side, and then on the right hand side for that objective, like I say, I charged my turn 1 because I was moving 12 inches, what put me basically 3 inches away from the enemy, and then the Vampire Lord was moving 10 inches, so not much further than that. I charged my my Black Knights into combat, and then I charged my Vampire Lord into combat against the enemy hero that was capturing the objective, because if I could kill the enemy hero that was capturing the objective, I would then take it, and then my Vampire Lord would need to try and survive as long as she could, to try and just basically claim as many points in the objective as she could. However, once I charged my Black Knights in, I elected to attack with the Vampire Lord first, as I just really wanted to kill his hero, of course being the Heroic Rune Smith, who was holding that objective. So I just really tried to kill him really. I managed to do it with the Vampire Lord, however, what I didn't expect was the Grimwrath Berserker is pretty good in combat, and he attacked the Vampire Lord. He didn't kill her, she had 1 wound left. However, he did this thing where you roll a dice or something and the Grimwrath Berserker gets to attack again. So he managed to get that off and attacked again, killed the my Vampire Lord. So my Vampire Lord basically went in there, killed the enemy hero catching the objective, and then was like, woohoo, I've got the objective. And then he killed my hero with his other hero that was there, and then he reclaimed the objective. So for, probably about a couple minutes I holded that objective, so that was quite good. It wasn't as long as I expected, didn't score any points on it, but, it was something. So, and then after that little kerfuffle, I then attacked with my Black Knights, and as my Black Knights had charged that turn, they're making loads of attacks. I was like, I'm going to kill the other hero he's got there, so he won't be able to claim points. And as he brought up the rest of his infantry, of course, on his first turn, my Black Knights managed to get a high charge roll, so they managed to hit some of the, what were they? The Half-Guard Berserkers, managed to get in quite a lot of combat with them. So I thought, apart from their extra Fire Slayer save, their save isn't going to be too good anyway, so I might be doing pretty good here, especially with my Lancers on the charge. I'm doing 2 damage, of course. However, it probably was just my luck, but the Black Knights hugely underperformed. On paper, they generally look really good, and I'm sure they are good, but I was just hitting on 3s and wounding on 3s, but I was just rolling 1s and 2s for days, unfortunately. So I didn't really get to do anything there on the charge, which was unfortunate. The horses did quite well, I believe, which, is a standard thing. It's good to know the horses are still good. But, however, I don't think I killed anything. I might have killed one of his Half-Guard Berserkers, I think. And then, after I attacked my Black Knights, he attacked me back with the Half-Guard Berserkers. He only had a unit of 5 of them. So, like I said, I might have killed one, so he might have only had 4 to attack me back with. They didn't do much damage. I think they might have killed 1 Black Knight, and that was it. But as the Black Knights were within range of my gravesite on the middle of the board, I wasn't too worried, because I thought, I could maybe bring one back through that. So, that was turn 1. and it was a bit. I didn't expect my Vampire Lord to die so quickly. So I really needed the second turn to try and kill his Magmadroth and start taking that objective. So what I did was, well, rolled priority. I managed to get it, luckily. And then I managed to... First off, I brought a Black Knight back from the gravesite, luckily, to bring that unit back to full strength. I kept it in combat, bogged it down there. I tried to cast Mystic Shield with the Necromancer onto the... No, I didn't try and do Mystic Shield. I tried to cast Arcane Bolt onto his Grimwrath Berserker, holding the objective on the right, just to try and do as much damage as I could to him, to try and, you know, get him off that objective as soon as possible. However, I failed to cast it, as I think I rolled a 3 or something to cast it, so unfortunately I failed that one. And so that was the hero phase for that side. On the left hand side of the White King and the Graveguard and the Direballs, I put Lord of Bones onto the Graveguard to make them get an extra attack, and then I think I brought maybe 1 or 2 Graveguard back, because I think the Magmadroth, to be fair, in the first turn, I think it breathed fire with my Graveguard unit and managed to kill a couple of them. However, as I was bringing quite a few back, it wasn't, you know, it wasn't a problem. I brought them back with no problem at all. So that was the hero phase, and then on to the movement phase. I moved my Graveguard as close to the Magmadroth as I could, and then I moved my White King up to get him in range of the objective, and then I moved my Direballs all the way up on the left hand side and the flank until they were touching the white scenery piece you can see on the screen on the far left corner, to try and basically to try and get the Magmadroth from behind. Or he also had 10 Volkite Berserkers there as well, so the plan was to try and charge those Direballs into the Berserkers, not planning to kill them, but just to bog them down, so I could take on the Magmadroth with all my Graveguard and not have to worry about the Berserkers countercharging me. So I did that for movement, and I also moved the Necromancer closer to the objective on the right hand side to try and, like I say, kill the rune, kill the Grimwrath Berserker and take that objective with the Necromancer. So that was a bit of a challenge trying to do that. So anyway, we move on to charging. So charges, I did manage to charge my Necromancer into the Grimwrath Berserker. However, on the left hand side, I got a really low charge from my Graveguard, so I took the 6-inch charge from the Hornblower. And then when I charged the Magmadroth, I had a unit of 20, but only managed to get, I think, like 5 in range of the Magmadroth, something like that. And the Direballs failed their charge. The White King couldn't charge because he ran that turn. So when it came to combat, I elected to go with the Graveguard first. I piled him in around the base of the Magmadroth and only managed to get, I think, about 10 in combat, something like that. However, this is where Graveguard became amazing. Like, I thought they would be amazing, like I have said in my previous videos, but I really wanted to put it to the test. So I had a unit of 10 Graveguard. I had a unit of 20. Had 10 in range to attack. One of them was the I think he's called the Sepulchre or something like that, but you know, the champion of the unit. So they make 2 attacks each. So, you know, 10 in range, so that's 20 attacks. And the champion makes an extra one, so you know, that's 21. They got an extra attack each because of the Lord of Bones command ability. So you're looking at 31 attacks. And then because of the Lord of Nagash command trait, added 1 to the attack characteristics because they're within 6 inches of my White King, being the general with that command trait. So that gave them 41 attacks. So that's 41 attacks with only 10 models, only 10 Graveguard. So that's not bad at all, to be honest. So 41 attacks, potentially doing 2 damage each if you're lucky. So I rolled to hit, I managed to hit a lot, I rolled to wound, managed to wound a lot, got quite a few 6s, so those ones doing 2 damage to the enemy. And my opponent tried to save against all that damage, but unfortunately he couldn't. He failed his saves, and the Magmadroth got put back in its case, unfortunately. So that was really good with the Grave Guard unit, super good. And then so that's what they did in that turn. Managed to kill the Magdroth, which was fantastic, because I mean he couldn't really try and get the objective back where his heroes were on the board. And then so that was that turn. I did attack with a Grave Guard and he attacked me back, but it was a bit of a standoff and nothing really took any damage. So it was then his turn. He I think he did a couple of things in the hero phase, and then he charged his Volkite Berserkers into my unit of Grave Guard, and then everything on the right hand side and that objective was stuck in combat anyway. So he went into combat. He attacked me with his Volkite Berserkers on the left hand side first. He managed to kill a few Grave Guard. However, I obviously went to attack the Black Knights again. However, the Black Knights weren't really doing any damage, unfortunately. It was a bit, like I said, a standoff on that objective, so it was a bit boring. And then he attacked my Black Knights, and not much happened again. Like I say, it was a bit boring, that conflict. And then on the left-hand side, with the Grave Guard, though, I went to attack his Volkite Berserkers, and I only had 8 models in range this time. However, I still managed to wipe out all those Berserkers with damage to spare. And was really good. It was just making me think the Grave Guard were amazing, which they were, to be fair. And then that was the end of that turn. So my opponent scored 2 points for the objective on the right hand side, because he's what I'd say he was called, was it the Grim? Yeah, the Grimwrath Berserker. Hold it for 2 turns now. So in this battle plan, the number of turns your hero has hold of the objective is how many points he scores. So he got 2 points for that, and then I was still on no points because yes, my White King was in range of the objective in my turn. However, you capture an objective if your hero finishes within 3 inches of the objective in a move, which can't be a primary move. My hero went there, he did move onto the objective, however the Magmadroth was still alive, and if my, the White King killed the Magmadroth, he would auto take the objective, because he's killed the Magmadroth and he's claimed the objective. However, as the Grave Guard killed the Magmadroth, I hadn't claimed the objective. So I was still on 0 points and my opponent was now on 4 points. So it did dawn on me that the pressure was building on, and this was turn 2, I believe. So I needed to try and get some points in. So we rolled for priority again for turn 3. I managed to get it. So what I do in my hero phase, because I took the turn, I put Lord of Bones onto the Grave Guard again, and then they went to, basically because I put it on the Grave Guard again, like I said, they killed the Magmadroth and they killed the Berserkers that were near the objective, so I wasn't really any threat to them. However, there was 2 enemy heroes behind the white scenery piece you can see in the middle of the board, and I just didn't want them to try and go to any of the objectives to try and take my one off me or to reinforce their one. So I thought I'd get the Grave Guard, charge, make them powerful, charge them into those heroes and try and kill them, so I could basically just try and kill all his heroes and then he couldn't win the game. So that's the plan with the Grave Guard. So I put Lord of Bones on them, the command ability, and then with the Necromancer I tried to Arcane Bolt the Grimwrath Berserker. I believe it went off and I did 1 mortal wound to him, so I think he had, from the damage he took earlier, I think he had like 2 wounds left. I think he had 2 wounds left. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he had 2. So the plan there was to do the Arcane Bolt, and then after that I went into the movement phase. So like I say, I moved my Grave Guard up on the left hand side into the middle of the board to try and charge his only 2 heroes left that weren't holding an objective. So that's what the Grave Guard were doing on the left hand side with the dire walls, and then on the right hand side I moved the Necromancer just out of 3 inches away from his Grimwrath Berserker, who was holding that objective, because I thought the only way I can take the objective is by charging the Necromancer in there and killing that bloody hero. So, charging, the Graveguard made it, and so did the Necromancer. Into combat, I attacked with the Necromancer into his Grimrock Berserker, and the Necromancer was only making one attack, hitting on a 4, wounding on a 3, -1 rend, D3 damage. So I needed to obviously hit and wound, he needed to fail his save, and then I needed to do 2 damage with the D3. So all that happened. Did 2 damage, then he got his extra Fire Slayer slaves, and he managed to fail them, and I managed to kill that Berserker, and where the Necromancer was, he managed to take that objective. So did that, and then his turn in combat, he obviously went to fight with one of his heroes, who'd just been charged by the Graveguard. He fought the Graveguard, valiantly. Unfortunately, he wasn't going to wipe out my Graveguard, because he only had like 2 little foot heroes there. I can't exactly remember the names, unfortunately. But I think they were the the Battlesmith, and then there was a Battlesmith and an Ulrich Rune Master. So not the most damage dealing guys. So he did as much damage as he could to the Graveguard. Like I said, unfortunately it wasn't enough. My Graveguard attacked both those heroes, managed to kill both of them very easily. And then with that, I killed all his heroes on the board. At that stage, he still had some Volkite Berserkers left and some half guard Berserkers. However, as he didn't have any more heroes, it was impossible for him to win, as I was just going to sit my last 2 heroes on the objectives for the rest of the game and just keep clocking points. So as, like I said, time was pushing us on, and we had to basically clear our board, as that game board was being used to display the entries into the Malign Portents painter competition. So we decided to call it there, give us enough time to pack up our armies and to set up what we entered into the painter competition. I would like to say this is the first time my mate was playing Fire Slayer, so it was quite new to him, like as a Fire Slayer's allegiance. But he did give a really good game. I was worried at quite a few points, and he was a pleasure to play against, as always. So it was a good game there. It was a small game, but it was quite fun and interesting. And like I say, my opponent was quite happy with how the Fire Slayer performed. He was really happy with just the extra saves they got as well. And my picture I got on the screen for you guys won't do it justice, as it's quite far away and it's only one photo. But his Fire Slayer's army was really nicely painted, and it was actually part of that army was used for the painter competition. So it was really nice to see it on the board today, or yesterday even, when we had the game. So that was the battle. I was really happy with how the Graveguard were doing, because if I was to put, like I say, like 10 of them was making 41 attacks. If I was to put, like Madhouse Dance on them, then they pile and attack twice in the combat phase, so they'd be making 42 attacks with just 10 of them. If they were all in range to attack, you're looking at, if they're all in range to attack, that will be 81 attacks they'd be making. And then, like I say, if you put Madhouse Dance to them, what's that? That's 162 attacks. Not too bad, really. And like I said, even you had 10 in range, you piled bid Van Hels's Dance to them, so they piled in twice. Be making 82 attacks, so it's not too shabby, is it, for how much that unit costs at all. So I really need to get some more Graveguard, and also it's just a demonstration to show that, do I really need Skeleton Warriors anymore? Yes, of course there are points where you need Skeleton Warriors in games, and particularly how there's a lot of battalions now where you take Skeleton Warriors. However, I just wanted to see if they were essential in one ways I want to build my army for the Grand Host and Nagash. And for me, in that game anyway, I found that they weren't essential, but in that game you're capturing objectives for your heroes, so that's probably the reason. However, having just a unit of 20 Graveguard and 5 dire walls for my battle line in a 1,000 point game, I found to be really effective. So yeah, that was the game. Like I say, it was a good game. Unfortunately, I couldn't do like a battle report on it. All I've done is just show one picture to you guys and try and explain what happened in the game best I can and try to not confuse you guys too much. Hopefully I've managed to explain it to some sort of information you've managed to be able to decipher from how I've explained it. Probably overthinking this, but I just wanted to basically tell you guys about my experience with the army, let you know how it did, and to try and prove my point that Graveguard are going to be super good in this new book, and I have proven that point, so I'm really happy with that, and I look forward to taking them in a 2,000 point game as well and getting some more. The unit of 20 is really good, but if I can get a unit of 30 or maybe 2 units of 30, that'd be awesome, really cool to see. So after the game, we then move on to the Malign Portents painting competition, and this is the first one. So the idea behind this was basically Games Workshop wanted to build up the momentum for the campaign that's going to start in, I think it's the 17th? I think it starts, the Malign Portents campaign. I think it might start, or it might start a little bit later. Not too sure on that. But anyway, the idea of it is that the first stage is that you buy a start collecting box, you paint it up in obviously any colour scheme you want, and it's like your first step into assembling your army to prepare for battle in the realm of Shaiish. So I obviously went for Death. I went for the start collecting skeleton horde box, and out of that I built and painted Arkan the Black, because at the time he was my second Mortarch I built, and I wanted to build him because I just really like the idea of having such a heavy caster in my army. So I built him, as you can see on the screen now. I also built 5 Black Knights and 10 Skeleton Warriors out of it, and because, you know, I was doing the Skeleton Horde, I could have built Hex Race, but I wanted Black Knights essentially. And I only have one other unit of Black Knights, and I painted them up as traditionally how they are on the box art. So, you know, you're just looking at, you know, black robes and stuff. However, with my second unit, I really wanted to see what they look like, you know, with red, as I thought, you know, it'd really brighten them up. So that's what I decided to do there. And then with the skeletons, I painted them up as the same as the rest of my skeleton warriors. So it's just basically red cloth they have themselves. And then with the banner, it's the same symbol I have on it, what represents basically my lore behind my death, which is basically a kingdom that is called the Imperial Empire of Pureblood. Essentially, it was a human kingdom 1,000 years ago, but Death conquered it, Nagash conquered it, and he left it to his Mortarches to rule. And over, you know, like I say, 1,000 years, basically the citizens of this empire were almost sort of brainwashed with propaganda to believe that that their kingdom wasn't invaded by Death; it was, you know, saved by Death, and you know, Death is their savior, and how lucky and appreciate how you know, lucky they are to live in this kingdom. And after 1,000 years, after generations and generations have had this much propaganda, you know, put in front of them, that they eventually believe it. And here we are today, where the kingdom is made up of the dead and the living, and then the living will fight and die for you know, the Mortarches and, you know, just Nagash himself, as they think, you know, it's such a heroic thing to do. And so that's the idea behind my empire. And then my sigil for it is a red background with an iron cross and then a blood drip on top of the iron cross. So it's quite an evil you know, empire, if I'm honest. It's not the nicest places to live. It's quite, shall we say, very far right wing on the political scale. But like I say, it's a horrendous place to live, but it adds lots of backstory and stuff, and I could talk about it for ages. But so that's basically just what the symbol and the banner means, essentially. So like I say, diverted a little bit there, but I just wanted to explain it just in case any of you guys wondered. So that was my entrance for the first part of the painting competition. So there was a good amount of us who entered, and there was some really good talent. Fortunately, though, I managed to come first, so I won gold certificate for my painted models there, which, like I say, compared to everyone else who was there, I was really happy with, because, you know, it's good competition. And again, I was really happy because I put a lot of time into painting this force, particularly into painting Arcan, and I just wanted to make him look as nice as I could, really. So really pleased to have my effort there recognised. It was really nice. So that was my army I had there, which like I said is a nice little start to the painting competition. Then next up we have my friend's Fireslayer army, which you might recognise as the army that I fought just literally minutes before this painting competition. And as you see, it's a really nice army. He's he's a good painter, and he managed to come second, which I knew he would be really happy with because, like I say, he spent a lot of time and effort onto paint up his Fireslayers. He's really got into his Fireslayers as well. Ever since about Christmas time, and which isn't that long ago. So he's done well being able to build and paint up this this force ready for this painting competition. And yeah, as we can see, it looks nice. A nice thing he did as well on the basis for these models, where, as you can see, it's like can't remember what the paint called. I think it's the it's one of those texture paints. It's like cracked earth. Anyway, so it's like brown, like cracked earth base. Like in a sort of desert plain he's been fighting in. But the nice thing is also put it's like blue crystal skulls on his bases. So it's like amethyst skulls. So it's sort of, as these guys are fighting in the realm of death, it's the sort of thing you could be imagining. Like these glass skulls scattered throughout the land with like almost like dark magic trapped inside them. So it's a nice little touchdown, especially, like I say, fighting in the realms of death. There's a nice connection there. So what we have in that start collecting box of his army is 10 Volkite Berserkers, which I fought minutes before this game. So it's nice to get a close picture of them, so you can really see the detail of how he's painted them. And then he also had what we call it, the Rune Smith on foot. What he got out of the Magmadroth kit, of course, as that's a really nice kit you can get there, where you get the Magmadroth and then obviously your chosen hero on top, and then I believe you get 2 extra heroes out of it, which you can put on separate bases and still use them. So, like I say, he had 10 Volkite Berserkers, he had the Uruk Rune Smith on foot, and then obviously, as you can see, he had the Uruk Rune Father on Magmadroth in the background there, which you can see how he's painted the sort of the nice flaming effects on the spine and on the sort of frills. So unfortunately with these photos as well, they are they're nice photos. You can see a close up of the army, but can be just a little bit blurry, as it was just taken on a iPhone camera. So hopefully you can see just how much effort he's put into it. And like I say, this is my friend's Wayne's army, and I think he's done really well. We then move on to third place, which was won by my other mate called Jamie with his Blades of Corn army, which is obviously the start collecting box for Corn Bloodbound. As you can see, we have the Slaughter Police there, which you get from the box. He's done a bit of a conversion on it as well, with some green stuff, which is nice to see. We've got 10 Blood Warriors, and then we also have his 3 Skull Crushers at the back. Now, it's good effort here. Like I say, it's nice to see him come third and to get a reward for this, because, like I say, it is well painted, and also he has been quite ill lately, just before this competition. So those 3 Skull Crushers are sort of at the back. Up until very, very, very recently, they were not painted. So he's done a very good effort in the last couple of days trying to squeeze them in, getting them painted, in between work and, I think, basically coughing up his lungs most of the time. So, like I said, it's nice to see that there. I fight this army all the time. It's an absolute pain in the arse. It's nothing broken or anything. I just can't deal with it. I think it's my luck on the dice when I fight against it. I don't know. He's generally a lucky guy. Never get the priorities. And I absolutely hate his Blood Secretor. But it's nice to see it be... nice to see some good pictures taken of it. So, you can get up close, get to know each one of these models, so I can give them all a name and hate them all personally. So that's his army there. Like I say, he came third place. Good job to him, and generally it's just nice to see my friends and us as a group managed to win the the certificates in this painting competition in our store. So this was really nice to see. So with part 1 of the Malign Portents painting competition done, the next part is to paint one of the harbingers, which is one of the new models that's came out for each Grand Alliance that represents basically the commander of the forces of death or the forces of destruction or order or chaos, entering the realm of Shaiish to try and bring the fight to Nagash or to try and defend him and the work he's doing. So this would either be for the Grand Alliance of Death, would be the new Knight of Shrouds, or it would be the Fungroid Cave Shaman for destruction, or for order it would be the Lord Ordinator, and then for chaos it would be the Dark Oath War Queen. So they're the 4 models there. I haven't really talked about their rules much. I did a quick chat on the Knight of Shrouds before, didn't touch the others. Out of all 4 of them, without a doubt, the Stormcast one is the best. However, the Stormcast one is the only one I fought because I had a game on Friday where I fought him, and in that game I fought against him. I fought against a mixed order list, and the mixed order list had loads of like Reaper bolt throwers and are they Eagle bolt throwers, the high elf ones as well, like the sort of out of production models, which are nothing wrong with them as being artillery. They're pretty good. However, when they get +1 to hit and when one of them can shoot twice, it gets to the point where I don't want to say it's broken, but might have just been me, but I was finding it really hard to deal with because the range on those things is really good. I was playing Fleshy at Court, so I couldn't get to the back of the board to try and deal with the Ordinator, and I just couldn't deal with how much sniping he was doing to my characters. Fleshy at Court, since he takes out my characters, my army just falls apart. So it was quite. So that was a game that I lost that one, which I'll admit I'm not trying to be salty about it, but as it was like the first one in like 9 games or something I lost, so it's going to happen sooner or later. But it was just really hard to deal with the the Lord Ordinator, because if you can't shoot him, if you can't get in range of him, to try and take him down, and the enemy's got a lot of artillery, they're just going to keep him bombarding you and stuff. So like I said, that there was I found it hard to deal with. It might have just been me. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining about it, but when I found out how many points he is, I was quite annoyed, as he is only 100 points. Which, he's not the cheapest one. However, the most expensive one is the Knight of Shrouds. And I'm not saying the Knight of Shrouds, our new death model, isn't worth his points, because he's 120 points. Because in a Nighthorn army, he can be really, really good, especially as a general. He can be a really nice addition. However, in a Grand Alliance death army, he's not so good. He's not bad, but his his command ability only affects Nighthorn units, so it won't benefit the rest of the Death Grand Alliance, which I thought was a bit of a shame because he's more expensive as the Grand Alliance Order one, and he benefits all the Order war machines. Admittedly, not all the Order armies have war machines, but there are quite a lot of war machines what Order can have. However, how I would rank these guys in strength, I would say the Lord Ordinator for Order is the best. I'd say the Knight of Shrouds is the second best. I would say the Dark Oath War Queen is the third best, maybe, and then the Fungi Cave Shaman is the fourth best. I mean, it's a tough up between the War Queen and the Cave Shaman, of which one's worse. Essentially, I think it is the Cave Shaman, as he only has 4 wounds, 4+ bravery, and a 6+ save. He's got some addition things to make him a little bit more survivable, a couple of abilities there. However, like I say, I think those 2 models are 80 points though. And, 80 points, he's the Fungal Cave Shaman. He's a wizard. He can cast Mystic Shield and Arcane Bolt. He can do that, He's got a few abilities there. 80 points, you can't complain. However, with 4 bravery and so on, you can't really complain. However, as he's narratively meant to be leading the forces of destruction into the realm of death, why can't he be a bit better? Because they've built up these characters so much in the story, and then when it comes to their rules, most of them don't live up to the story that's been told about them. I mean, the fungi cave shaman, if he's leading the forces of destruction into the realm of Shaiish, how the fuck did he beat up Gordrak to take his place in this campaign? Which I don't understand. However, so that's the 4 models that have came out to represent each Grand Alliance. Now, I say in game, some of their rules, are a bit niff, not so good. However, I would like to say that in general, they are lovely models. I mean, I really do like the cave shaman. I know some people think that goblin has got a bit too much going on, and he has, but I quite like the look of him, to be honest. I don't have a destruction army, but I could see myself maybe picking this guy up just to paint him. The Knight of Shrouds, when I first saw him, I didn't like the model. However, as time's gone on, I've grown to like him. I still don't know why he has a scarab to put his sword into, but, we'll have to see. And then the Lord Ordinator, like I say, I found him really annoying in the game just because how good he is. However, have you seen his moustache? And, that's all that really should be said about him. It's fantastic. And then the Dark Oath War Queen. There's not a lot of female models out there, particularly for Chaos and stuff, apart from, Slaneshi Demons. So, really nice to see that there. So that's a good model. And then the only thing left to say is I find it a little bit hard to swallow the price tag of these models, because I will be getting the Knight of Shrouds as part of the painting competition, because that's what you have to paint up for a next month, which I believe is the 3rd of March for that painting competition. So that's the next part that you paint up to add to your start collecting box force. However, the price tag for these guys is £20 per model, which I think is really quite pushing it from Games Workshop. Not saying they're bad models or anything. Like I said, models-wise, I generally really like them. However, £20 for models, they're not particularly big, It's like some of them aren't any bigger than, like the White King with Baleful Tombblade. That's a £9 plastic kit. And now these ones are £20. I really feel like they're just pushing it, trying to get money out of us, which, they are a business, so fair enough, if they want to, they've got to make money. However, I think this is just a bit pushing a bit too far. I think £15 for these models is fair enough. £20 is too much. Like I say, I will buy the Death one just for the painter competition. However, I would have liked to have bought the Goblin one, but I won't be spending £20 on that model because he's bound to be tiny. However, I'll say, in game, in match play, I said a lot of these things, they're right in the game, but, you might be better spending the points on something else. However, for this campaign, this Malign Portents, and not just for the campaign, but if you want to use the rules from Malign Portents in your normal games, what would be really fun, these harbingers bring a lot more to the game. They can interpret the prophecy signs or something like that, which can basically give you stratagems if you want to take the turn from 40k in Age of Sigmar, which looks really interesting. So you've got abilities you could use throughout the game and stuff, all tailored for each Grand Alliance, and you can mainly use those with your army anyway, but if you've got these harbingers in there, you can enhance them and take better ones. So there's a reason to use it there. So overall with the harbingers, generally, I think the storyline is fantastic. In game, most of them don't live up to their story. However, they have fantastic models, and then the negative to that is the price is very expensive. But then a positive is they're part of a painting competition. So it's a nice little thing to work on. For a competition to try and get done for the 3rd of March. So, you've got plenty of time. But it's up to you if you want to get one, really. They can add to a lot of the game. If you're playing narrative games as well, and you want to use the Malign Portent rules, like I say, I think these harbingers, they're probably worth the price, 20 quid, but for how much use you're going to get out of them, it's probably going to be quite a lot. Okay, so after that, so that's month 2 part of the painting competition. Month 3 is expand your warband by adding and painting one of the fraction's appropriate units. Okay, so we'll just look at the deaf ones here because it will take ages to go through the rest of them. So for the deaf ones, if you've got the Flesh Eater Court start collecting box to start with, the next unit you would add after you've painted up your Harbinger for month 3 would be a Death Lord, so one of the Mortal Archers, and that would be Neferata. And then you could instead of having Neferata, you could have Flesh Eater Court Crypt Flares or Flesh Eater Court Crypt Ghouls. So that's what you need for the Flesh Eater Courts in month 3, or if you take the Skeletal Horde, which is the one that I took, for month 3 you either need Soulblight Vargheists, Deathlord Morghusts, or Soulblight Coven Throne. So out of those 3, for me personally, I've got a lot of like Crypt Flares and Vargheists, so I'll probably leave that, and then a Soulblight Coven Throne. I don't know, it doesn't really fit into my army too much at the moment, so I might go with the Deathlord Morghast. And like I say, if I'm going down towards the Grand Host Nagash Legion's abilities, Morghast gets so much better, and you'll be using them so much more in the game. So I'll probably go for that. So we'll go for that one, and then for the third start collecting box, which is the Malignant one, your choices are Deathlord Morghusts, Deathlord Mortarch, and this would be Arcan, or Nighthaunt Spirit Host. So you've got a variety there. So that will be the choices for month 3 for the Death Ground Alliance and the Painter competition, and that pretty much sums up the Painter competition. So I'm going to call the video there. I know this video hasn't been that formal, and it's basically just been me talking about my hobby over the last few days, and that's it really, just talking about the game I had. Like I said, sorry I couldn't do a battle report, it just really pushed for time, and as it was my mate's first time using his Fire Slayers, I didn't want to put him under like more pressure, I didn't really want much mistakes to happen, and things like that, so didn't do a proper battle report there. Hopefully the information I gave you about it sort of gave you my general idea of my first experiences with Legion of Nagash. I didn't just want to ignore it, I still wanted to talk about it a bit because I said I was going to do a battle report, so I just wanted to cover that. And then just want to talk about the painting competition and the you know, for Malign Portents coming up for the global campaign, which I'm generally really excited about, and especially for the campaign book because I have bought it. I haven't opened it up yet. I might do a talk about it in a video this week, to just talk about what rules in there and how I can make the game a lot more exciting, and you know, what to look forward to. And so yeah, that's pretty much like I said. This video's been a bit, you know, less formal and just been a bit basically just a chat about hobby things, like I say, rather than going into like in-depth like tactical rules and stuff about certain armies or the lore of them and stuff. I just thought I'd go for a bit of a change, especially how I don't actually have too much time today to do a video. This weekend's been a real sort of push, and then tomorrow it's going to be obviously a busy day at work, so I'm going to try and do one in the evening tomorrow. I'm going to try and cover the Legion of Blood tomorrow to get Neferata's video up here and cover, you know, like I've been doing tactics and stuff about it. So like I said, today I didn't have much time, so I just wanted to get a video up here, just me talking about my thoughts and what I've been up to lately. So that's pretty much it. So I hope you enjoy this video, or it's giving you something to listen to while you paint, and you know, you're always fighting the unending war against the grey. So like I say, if you've enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe and comment, as that always does really help me produce videos and try and get them up on a daily basis as best I can. And the last time I checked, I had over 100 subscribers, which is really, really, really fantastic. I mean, I haven't even been doing this for a month now, and this is much, beyond what I expected to have. So I'm really thankful to all of you, and it's been a great little community, chatting to you guys in the comments and finding out your opinions as well. And hopefully the channel will just grow strength from here. So like I say, if you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe and like. I appreciate it's been a bit more of a random one today, but like I said, didn't have much time to give a really structured video. However, I wanted to get at least one video up here just to give you guys something to listen to, when you are hobbying, if it's like building, painting, whatever you're doing, just to share my thoughts really. So, until next time, remember, Nagash is all, and all is one in Nagash.